I'm going to start by laying down my light peach with the thin end of the marker. Be careful to avoid your ink lines, because the ink will blur right in with the marker. I've zoomed in closer for this video so that it would be easier to see what's going on, and I apologize, that's the best camera angle I can get. So, sorry. On vellum, marker lines are a little more forgiving, so you don't get the streaks as much, but even with that, you need to be very careful to keep a consistent speed, otherwise it'll still come out a little uneven, and really avoid the ink lines as much as possible, because it'll get stuck on your pen, and once that black gets on your pen, it gets everywhere, and it is so hard, if not impossible, to get off. I can't think of a time I've got it off, but I'm sure it's possible, maybe. Next, I'm going to come in with the Deco Pink. Be very cautious with your reds. So come in, start putting in a little bit of pink on the areas that'll be rosy, such as the cheeks, the tip of the nose, maybe even up here by the eyebrow. Again, avoiding the black on the chin. And keep blending it out, just lightening the pressure. On the ears is another important spot for pink. Tips of the fingers. And the knuckles. Adding rosy tones to your characters makes them look more alive and fleshy and just a little more advanced in general. I have a little bit of difficulty with this since I don't actually have very many rosy tones to my own skin, but it still looks good if you add them. So I'm going to go in again with light peach to darken it a little bit, and then just blend it in. And the skin is the hardest part, at least for me. I end up getting weird colors in, and I start making it dark and sickly. It's just not good. I should probably have taken my sketch out from underneath this, but I didn't feel like it, so I left it there. Plus, it adds a little more excitement to the finished product. And you can go in again with Deco Pink. The more you layer the colors, the darker they get. In case you didn't already figure that. And there's no shading happening in this stage. The shading comes later. Now it's time for the shading. I'm going to go in very carefully with some dark lines where my shadows are. Again, the light source is up here. So just come in, putting a light outline where you're going to want the shadows to be. Don't forget to shade the bottom of the nose. That can really add a lot to your picture if you remember to shade it. Keep in mind the shadows that the hair will cast, that the lip will cast. What's the shape of the face? In spite of the two-dimensional cartoon style, there will still be a form in the face. Under the eyes, this is one of the most important places that you can shade. Again, putting shadows where the hair is. It's really adds depth if you can remember to shade where the hair is. And keep the distance consistent. I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow over here as well. Under the chin, this is another big shadow. Under the chin, under the eyes, under the nose are all some of the biggest ideal shadows that you can put on your picture. And I'm keeping in mind the form of the collarbone as I shade this portion. And this is all shadow. While the light is still coming from here, the shadow is going to be casting from here as well. And I'm going to give just a slight over here. This is going to be a semi-cell style, semi-hard style. Kind of evolves. I don't know. I'm more of an advocate for the cell style myself, but soft style is also important to know and understand. And so, there we have the first shadows on the skin. Now we're going to go in with our light peach again. We're going to use this as a means to blend in these shadows. I'm using circular strokes to mix up the still a little wet ink, and then I'm pulling it with short strokes. And you can also use a clear blender to blend, but don't forget that you can use colors, and colors always look better to blend with than the blender. And now I'm using the places that aren't shaded almost as highlights, because you can't highlight with marker, you can just preserve highlights, if that makes sense. Now if you're hesitant about using a color, you can get a test sheet of paper to try it on before you put it onto your paper. And the Velomac's a little different from this paper. Now this is a slight yellow, but I still think it's going to work for the purpose I'm going to use it for, and it does. And I'm using this to kind of push and reshape a few of these shadows. And I'm using my finger to come in and wipe some of that ink away. Make sure your hands are clean. Don't let any pencil or anything be on them, because if you touch this at all with dirty hands, it can ruin everything. I'm going to go in, just kind of add a little bit of a yellow tone, ever so slightly. And this is almost just in random areas where I think there should be a little bit more of a warm glow. Now for the lower parts, just going to go in and blend these again real quick. I'm dragging down some tendons here for the hands. And voila, the skin is done.